Okay, hi guys. Welcome to the Planting for Food book launch. I am Anne Pochen. I am the author of the Planting for Food book series, and there are two books within that book series. And the first one is called Planting for Food Indoor Sowing, where basically, you know, what's called you grow your food inside your home. Okay, and this particular book is for people who don't have outdoor space, maybe like outdoor garden or an allotment or a farm to grow their food, but they have space within their home. So you can use what's it called, planting pots like these here, okay, on the windowsill. And if you have a spacious windowsill like that, okay. And then for those of you who may have a little bit of a bigger space, whether it's in your kitchen or your conservatory, you can also use a greenhouse such as this one here, okay. This is a mini greenhouse. It's a 5-tier greenhouse, and you can put like lots of pots in there, and you can even fit your propagators in there, okay. And this particular greenhouse fits 10 of these propagators, okay. So if you're starting off your crops in winter, especially before replanting them into bigger planting pots, you can start them in here, propagators, and you use the propagator cover to cover it, and then you put it in the greenhouse, okay. And the good thing about the greenhouse is that you can also close it. So in winter, like we are in winter now because we're in December, in the UK it's winter. It gets really cold, and to keep what's it called, a precise temperature, you can just zip up your propagator using the propagator cover. Okay, so that's another one, and then you can grow also. In that book, I share with you other planting materials that you can use. You don't necessarily need to use planting pots if you don't have enough money to get planting pots. They're quite cheap, but you can also use, plastics that you may not need anymore. So I used what's it called, underbed storage boxes, because I had them for my office, but then the lids had been broken, so I just used them to grow on a bigger scale. Okay, so and then the crops that you can grow, there's specific crops that you can grow indoors. For example, mustard, cress. You can grow your seasoning herbs indoors, things like parsley, basil, mint, coriander, thyme, rosemary, all those kind of crops. You can grow them indoors, and you can also grow your spring onions, your garlic as well indoors. Okay, and you can also grow your chili pepper, okay, indoors as well, and your celery and your Roman heart lettuce. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what is currently growing in our indoor house, in indoor garden. Sorry, um, I've got some mint, and then I've also got some red onions in there. Okay, and in this one, I've got a combination of red onions, white onions, garlic, as well as spring onions, and tomatoes, and also mint. Okay, and what you see here, these white bits, they're eggshells. Okay, now that gives it nutrition. It releases nitrogen in the soil, in the compost, so that it's fertile and it's healthy for the crops, because I don't use store-bought, chemical fertilizer. I don't use them. I use plant-based waste to basically provide nutrition for the soil to make it healthy for the crops, and also what's it called, eggshells, which works as bones. Okay, and then in here I've got the Roman heart letters, and also some garlic as well in there. Okay, and finally in this one I've got my celery in there. Okay, and again eggshells there as well. Okay, in the greenhouse I had cress, I had mustard, and I also had tomatoes, but I've harvested them already and used it for this time period. So I'm going to replant some tomatoes in there, because you can actually eat tomato leaves. It works as a vegetable. Okay, now now there are also like four sets, well, two bigger sets of compost there. But in here, in these ones, there is chili in two of them, and then there's garlic. Garlic? And then there is spring onions in the last one. Okay, so that is basically what is there. Okay, and then for those of you who may not have big propagators, you can actually use mini propagators. Okay, so I've got a mini propagator here that I bought with, what's it called? Yes, Mom, want to buy it. Mom, would like to buy this. Okay, do you give me a minute, guys? I need to send my son back to bed. Bed. Good boy, well done. Go back and lie down. Good boy. Well done. So you can buy small propagators and reuse them again and again. Okay. And then I've also got potatoes. Potatoes here. Okay. So this was just one example. You can actually grow potatoes from peels, potato peels, instead of just the potato seed. Okay. And then I've got a planting pot with compost in there, but I've also got plant-based waste in there, just to provide nutrition for the soil. Okay, so I wanted to use this as an example for you out there. Okay. Of course, you can use a compost bin, but that's an alternative. If you don't have a compost bin, you can just do it as you go along. Okay, so you just turn your compost and let it rot properly and still be using it. Okay, and then I also wanted to show you certain other tools, gardening tools that you would need. Okay, so for the dibbler, to create holes when you're planting your seeds. Okay, so I've got a plastic dibbler, but I don't know if they have wooden ones. I'm sure they do have wooden ones. And then you have garden scoop. This is to scoop your seeds. Okay, and then you've got the mini fork. That's to turn your compost, to turn your soil, as well to turn your weeds. Okay, just to take out the weeds from your garden. And then you've got I've got like a little spade kind of thing. This is to turn your compost as well. Again, okay. And also to when you're transplanting, you may just dig the soil a little bit to weaken it and transplant your crops from one pot to another. Okay. And then you definitely need some gardening gloves, okay, because you can't always put your hand in compost. So because of health reasons, and so you need to have at least a pair of gloves, okay. And then you're gonna need some ant and crawling insect killer, okay, because when you do open your windows to as you're growing your crops, it attracts, insects and crawling ants and crawling insects. So just use it to spray, and obviously follow the instructions of whatever brand you use. Okay. This is called Pest Shield Advanced Formula, and is suitable for control of ants, cockroaches, fleas, and other crawling insects. So that's the one I personally use. Okay. And then you need some jute twine, and this is basically for when you need to support your plants. Okay, plants like your tomatoes, your potatoes, your um herbs. Okay, and basically to tie it onto twigs. Okay, you can see twigs on that particular in that particular planting pot. Basically, that is what you use to tie it with until they're steady enough to support themselves. Okay. And then you also need labels. Okay, sticky labels to label your pots so that you know exactly what is in each pot. Otherwise, you may forget, you may end up eating something that you're not supposed to eat. Um, so it's very important that you label until you're able to recognize what you are growing. Okay, so you use that, and if you don't have those sticker labels, you can also get um, a pack of these, okay, where you just write the name of the crop that you're growing, and then just stick it um into the planting pot where it is. But this is also good for those of you who may have allotments or gardens or farms. You can actually use it and just stick it on the raised bed or the area where you've planted your crops, basically. Okay, so you know exactly what's there. Okay. Now, lastly, before we go on to the topic for tonight, a garden spray. This is a 1 liter garden spray. So this is really good for to use with water, to use with fertilizer, of course, for those of you who use chemical-based fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides as well. And it's got an adjustable nozzle. Okay. So I use this literally to water my crops my seedlings when they're still like really tiny, and then I use it for pesticides. Okay, because in summertime you have certain crops that attract certain flies on them, especially the chilies. They attract white flies in summer. So I use this with soapy water to deter the flies off the chilies, and that is basically that. Yeah, and then I use it to water the the crops as well, like all of the crops. Okay, so that is that. And for those of you who may not necessarily want to grow your crops from seed, you can actually get plug plants, and some plug plants come with their own planting pots like these. So I would suggest to you that if you are looking to grow quite a lot of your own food, I would say to you that keep your planting pots, the ones that you get from your plug plants. Every time you buy them, just keep them, okay? Keep them. I've got quite a lot of them under the in my greenhouse, okay? So that will save you from having to buy different size planting pots, especially like these ones, okay? So you can reuse them again and again and again until they're broken, okay? Or yeah, basically broken, okay? Now, can you please go to bed? Let's go quickly. So okay, now that this brings me to the point of seeds. You can actually get all your seeds from your either your local supermarket, such as Asda, Aldi, Lidl, or even Tesco. I don't know if Sainsbury's does them, but you can check. Um, and then you can get them from your mini gardening centers and also places like Walco for those of you who are in the UK, or you can get them from what's it called? Any growers out there, like magazines, gardening magazines. Some of them have um, seeds in there. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, like the kitchen garden. This particular magazine, they have seeds in them. Okay, a few packs of seeds that you can grow outdoors and also indoors. Okay, and then they have then there's the Thompson and Morgan. Okay, they also do have seeds in their magazines. Okay, and you can subscribe to their magazines as well. But for situations where you don't have seeds, like in the supermarkets and all of that, because right now there's a shortage of supply, and seeds happen to be one of the shortages that we're experiencing personally in the UK, okay, in most of the familiar shops that I've been to anyway. So that means you can actually have substitute that you can use. So, for example, if you don't have chili seeds, you can just every time you buy chili, the specific type of chili that you use or you want to use, just take out the seeds and plant it straight away. If it's the planting season for the chili, okay, and put it down and go to bed. You can just and if it's not the planting season for that type of chili, you can just scrape the seeds out onto paper, dry them out, and then put them in envelope and label them for when you need it, okay? And the same applies with onions. If you don't have onion seeds, you can just cut the base of your onion, the root part, and put it in water and have the roots root out, and then you just plant them, okay? The same with your spring onions, the same with your garlic cloves. You can just put like your cloves in water and just have the roots grow out, and then you plant them, okay? I've got so many videos of how to grow specific crops on the AHP Collective YouTube channel, this channel that we're on right now. You can go and click on whichever crop that you want to grow, and you see how you can grow them, whether it's from seed or from the roots, okay? While you wait for my book, which will be coming out very soon, called Roots and Pills, okay? Roots and Pills, all right? Shameless plug there. Or you can even, your leftover crops like your beans, for example, if you have beans, if you bought beans and you want to grow beans, you can just leave a couple of your dry beans, okay, from the store as your seed, okay, which I have done because I'll eventually start growing my beans, okay. And you do that with your beans, with your sweet corn as well. You do the same thing probably with your okra seeds, okay. And for your spring onions, you cut the base off, and you plant it directly, and it'll grow, it'll regrow. You can do the same thing with your Roman heart lettuce if you don't have lettuce seeds. If you don't have mint seeds, you can get the plug plants, okay, and use that. For your celery, you can just cut off the base whenever you buy some from the store and replant. That is the way to use your seeds. And even your fruit, what's it called? Your fruit seeds, like your apples, you can just cut your apples, take out the seed, dry them, and plant them, or plant them straight away. Your lemons, your melons, the same thing. You do the same thing when they're in season. Okay. Same with your strawberries and all of those kind of seeds. You just use what is there, what you have, and straight away, or dry them and plant them at the right season. Okay. Now, what is the time now? Let's see. Okay, we've got quite a bit of time still left. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to respond to your questions. Okay, whether it's now or even at a later date. Okay, and and the good thing about the what's it called? About buying seeds from the store, it'll tell you when to plant and when to harvest, so you have that timeline. But in the books, both books, I'll show you how, the time scale, and all of that will be included, and the resources that you need to start up, whether it's indoors or outdoors. Okay, so that will all be included. Now, I'm gonna go into talking about the benefit of actually growing your own food, which was the topic for today's book launch. Okay, so um, you know, I don't know if you've watched the wealth transfer video on the AHP Collective channel. If you have, you would know exactly why you need um, a garden, or an allotment, or a farm, um, or even be able to grow your food indoors. Okay, because not only is it beneficial for you and your family, where you can grow your own food, you know exactly what you're growing, and you have your crops available to hand. Okay, can you not go and play with that? Go to bed. Okay, and and basically, you know exactly what you're having. what you have in your garden, okay, whether it's your indoor garden or your outdoor garden. You know exactly what you're planting, you know exactly what you're eating, because a lot of the food that is in the supermarket, they use chemical fertilizers for most of them, and it's not always good for us. So by growing your own food, you know exactly what's in there, okay, and you also have enough supply for in season and out of season, okay. And um and another benefit of growing your own food is that in case of emergency, you actually have food, you actually have a place to grow your own food, okay? That is the benefit of actually growing your own food. You'd have enough supply for your family in case of emergency. For example, when there was lockdown, the first lockdown where we had in the UK, personally, we had to queue up for food, okay? And it was in that time, people who had their gardens or their allotments, they were actually looking for seeds to grow their own food, okay, which meant that they didn't have to always keep going out to buy. Maybe if it's fruits, if you have fruits, you can grow your fruits. If you had your vegetables, you'd have your vegetables there. If you had your seasoning herbs, you wouldn't have to go supermarket, queue up to go to the to go and buy food. And in case there's shortage of supply like we faced in the last, what's it called, lockdown, the first lockdown, you'd actually have your own supply at home. So that's another benefit of growing your own food, okay. Now, um moving away from the actual what's it called, the actual whole in case of emergency, like even in the days to come. That's why I said if you haven't watched the wealth transfer, go and watch it, because food is actually a commodity that can be used for investment. Now, for those of you who may grow your own food, you can actually end up selling some of your food produce to the market. You can supply the supermarkets, or you can actually set up a store and supply your local community and get paid for it, okay. Because right now there is shortage of farmers, and that's why there's partly shortage of supply, okay. Now, so that's another benefit. It's monetary value. You can make money by growing your own food as well. And then you can also grow specific crops and sell them as plug plants to people who don't have the time or don't have the know-how of growing crops from seed. Okay, so you can start it, growing it off for them, and then sell it on. Okay, pop up. Okay, so you can sell like in individual plant pots like these, or even big plant pots like that for your fruits. Okay, so it can actually become a business. Okay, um, personally, we don't sell our food at A.H.P Food Store Limited. We don't sell our food, but we sell products that what's it called, resources, resources that helps people to grow their own food. Okay, hence our books, we do sell them, but we don't sell our actual food. I use that for my family, okay, my family, and eventually my community when we get our allotment and our farm, okay. So those are the benefits of growing your own food, all right. And also, in the near future, with inflation and hyperinflation and all this reset plan, the food is going to become so expensive for some people that they may not be able to buy food, okay. But if you have space to grow your own food, whether it's your windowsill or your conservatory or your hallway, for those of you who have massive hallways, you can put your planting pots in there. In fact, I use these boxes in my hallway to literally grow our food there, okay. Or allotments, or your back garden, or your farm, okay. You can actually grow your food to be able to um to feed your family, and then also use it as monetary gain to serve the community. And that is why you shouldn't be surprised when you see people actually buying land. You know, what's it called? It's called arable land. Okay, land that is able to grow. You're able to grow food on. So that is those are the benefits of growing your own food. Okay, you have them in and out of season. You have them in case of emergency. You can sell them as a business. Okay, a portion of it as a business, and then for your family. Um, and and then another benefit of growing your own food is also that you get to teach your children. For example, if you have young children, most young people in the UK don't know where food comes from. And if you're growing your own food, um, you can actually teach your children like what is this, what is that, what is this, and then you can use it as a learning activity as well. So your children, you can get them to help you to sow a few seeds, like the cress and the mustard, all those ones. You can help get them to help to sow those. And then your older children, you can get them to help you sow the garlics and maybe even the onions and all of that, to see the process of growing your own food. And they can help you to water it so that they are learning as well. So that's another benefit of growing your own food. You get to teach your children so that in the future, when they need to have those skills, they'll have those life skills as well to practice and to be able to survive off of. Okay, so that is basically the benefits of growing your own food. Okay, now, oh my gosh, it's half an hour. Okay, um, only just half an hour. It's 9:20. Okay, so since basically we finished that, some of you may be wondering, where would you be able to get the books from? You'll be able to get the books from my online stores once they're out of print. You can get them from my online stores once they're up and running. My Amazon store, my eBay store, and also my personal website, which is www.anpochem.com. That is where you'll be able to get both books from once they're available in store. Okay, and apart from that, you can also check out the A.H.P food store limited on Facebook and Instagram, okay, for content around agriculture. Okay, and also on the A.H.P Collective YouTube channel, you can also access agricultural content on there and also ask your questions. And then the A.H.P Publishing Limited, you can also check out the book on there, information on the book on there as well, and ask your questions. You can send DMs on either of those platforms, and you'll have your questions answered. Okay, and also in the comment section of the agricultural content on the A.H.P Collective YouTube channel, you'll be able to put your questions in there, and I'll either answer your question straight away or create videos as a response to your question. Okay, other than that, this will bring us to the actual end of the book launch. Okay, now let me show you how it looks like. How the covers look like, so that you know exactly what you're getting. Laura Hudson Tech. Okay, hi Laura Hudson Tech. Okay, so I hope the camera is picking it up, but that's how the first book will look like. Okay, and then this is how the second book will look like. Planting for Food, Outdoor Sewing. That's how the second book will look like. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video. You can watch the behind the scenes of the book launch to see how we put it together, and that is basically it. I hope you've enjoyed this book launch, and I hope you've been able to take one or two things out of this book launch. And if you have any questions, you can also put it in the comments section. But since there are no questions in the comment section and it's already evening time, night time, I'll end this live now. Okay, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye.